Mr. Lucas from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, so I had this assignment for Dutch, where we needed to interview someone from who you are interested in the job they're doing in their work. Yeah,
I see. So that's the background. Okay. So, well, I'm glad you're interested. That's cool. Go ahead. What's your interest? Go ahead.
Well, I thought like in electrical engineering,
Yes.
and then mom was like, Dan Winter does that or something with that.
It's true. I was trained as an electrical engineer, University of Detroit, with the Jesuits many years ago, and then worked for IBM, had a little bit of fun. I did polygraphy, biofeedback, psychophysiology. So I studied the sort of physics of psychology as an electrical engineer, University of Detroit. Indeed.
Okay, yeah. And I needed to ask you a few questions.
Yeah, but maybe you can also tell Dan a little bit that you're also interested in the field of physics.
Mm-hmm.
Because that is the route you chose to follow now in school. He is to decide what subjects he would like to follow in this next coming year.
Very cool. Yes. I hope they're hard questions. And the fact that your mother is doing that amazing project with the brain waves and kids who see without their eyes, that's some interesting electrical engineering too. Go ahead. Go ahead, Luke.
Yeah.
Well, first question is, what kind of electrical engineer are you?
Well, when I was a kid, about your age, my grandfather ran an electric motor shop. And I was Sparky the Motor Whiz fixing electric motors when I was your age, actually. So then after I finished high school, University of St. Francis High School in Athol Springs, New York, on the lake, I decided to go to University of Detroit because that's where my uncle and my brother. And I had actually invites to be at MIT and Clarkson, all the famous Rensselaer Polytech. I was a pretty successful student. And so I studied electrical engineering, which in the automotive context originally, although then my graduate work was psychophysiology, so we were applying it to biofeedback, actually. So I was designing the amplifiers and couplers for polygraphs. You know how you make a Wheatstone bridge of resistors so that you can tell if somebody's lying with galvanic skin response? And you know what got me interested in that? When I saw that the college boys, you could see on their GSR chart a dramatic, within nanoseconds, rise and fall if you showed them Playboy magazine. So I knew it was important. And I can give you a clue about that too, which was that when the skin resistance goes down, it's when you see something you like in Playboy magazine, for example. It tells you something.
Yeah, that's an interesting entrance into the field of
resistance. So, but actually, I was interested in the physics of consciousness when I was quite young. So, but then after that, I was hired at IBM in Detroit. I worked in O2D, IBM, Detroit, Chicago, and Poughkeepsie, and trained as a systems analyst. So electrical engineering degree is good for lots of stuff. It's very cool. And then I ran my father's and grandfather's electric motor business for like 20 years and became, leader in, I did lectures on Electric Apparatus Service Association, and I would teach electrical inspectors for many years in Buffalo, New York.
Okay. So, but your spiritual interest was already sparked when you were young.
Well, to give you an idea how my spiritual interest was sparked.
Yeah.
So there I was working for IBM. And when you work for IBM, it's sort of like the American dream, like you got everything and who could possibly want anything better? And then after only a year or two there, I quit IBM to go back to university to study psychophysiology and spiritual physics. And my parents assumed that I was insane. That's how dedicated I was to spiritual science.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Gurdjieff School and studied sacred gymnastics and bliss and cosmic stuff.
Wow. Yeah, so just tell me. Yeah, because Lucas prepared 4 questions and we are we're zigzagging through them actually right now because you already told something, but you can just read your question and
then. What kind of study did you do?
Well, so you told already a lot about.
Well, electrical engineering, you do electrical engineering graphics and circuits design. And the first couple of years, you're studying physics and chemistry, which are necessary for electrical engineering. I also studied biology, but then my advanced study translated some of that to psychophysiology at University of Detroit.
Okay. Okay. Oh, Nelson, shush.
Go ahead, Lucas. What's your next question there? Go ahead.
Well, where did you find the spiritual physics?
Yeah. I think if you look up spiritual physics at most universities, you don't find anything.
No.
And even physics of consciousness. Years later, I was invited to speak for the graduate cardiologist class of famous Gary Schwartz at University of Arizona in Phoenix. And Gary Schwartz today runs the most famous international series of conferences on physics of consciousness. And so there are people that run conferences on physics of consciousness, and Gary Schwartz is one of them. And even at that time, I was extremely frustrated because I felt that no one was actually looking at a serious electrical model of what consciousness is. At that time, I was teaching how to analyze heart harmonics. I had invented the concept of heart coherence and was a little bit famous already, and they gave me a standing ovation. It was pretty cool, the PhD students. However, at another time, I was invited to speak at a conference of physicists on the nature of gravity at University of Cleveland, I think it was. And at that point, my theory of gravity completely bombed. They hated me. So the heart harmonic stuff was famous and accepted, and even today when we teach how golden ratio in brain waves creates perception, and that's how we're measuring the kids who see without their eyes with you, Iris. Yes. Even today, that is completely unaccepted.
Yeah.
Physics. And if you tell a physicist why an object falls to the ground, he assumes you don't know what you're talking about because he doesn't have a clue. Therefore, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how stupid the world of physics is today. And yet, if you don't know why an object falls to the ground, you don't understand why those children can see without their eyes.
Mm-hmm. And but do you see, because it's still not quite accepted, but do you see a broader interest for it in the last decade or the 2 last decades?
Well,
also
for
mainstream scientists, I mean.
Yes, I think the interest in the physics of consciousness is now much, much higher and wonderful, and that's a good thing. And I would say there are almost no physicists who actually are able to think bravely about it. Because if you understood when golden ratio conjugate implodes at the Planck threshold and creates a recursive growing feedback loop, bigger and bigger coherence field, that's exactly what perception is.
Yeah.
It's that wormhole. And all your kids say they think they're seeing through a wormhole, and now we can measure it. Yes. But do you think you can tell physicists that consciousness and gravity are caused by the same thing? Mm-hmm. No, they'd sooner die rather than admit they were wrong.
Yeah. And what do you think is needed for them to open their minds and their hearts and their eyes and their knowledge?
I am crystal clear. We are crystal clear on that. We completely stopped trying to teach physicists anything. If they're interested, they come to us, and they do all the time, by the way. However, when I taught golden ratio creates rejuvenation, nobody, of course, paid any attention. But then we built a device, Therify.net, which is now commercially very successful in 25 countries. And everybody's kissing us and wants to know, how does it work? Yeah. So by the way, we are going to build gravity. I mean, propulsion and energy. And if you rotate a conjugator, it's our carbon nanotech division. We are leaps and bounds ahead. We know exactly how we're going to teach physicists. We're going to sell gravity. And the military are not going to get a chance to bid. And it's happening, I'll tell you.
And what do you mean when you say we're going to sell gravity?
Well, if you happen to know why objects fall to the ground, then you can make gravity.
Yeah.
The mercury vortex in the Nazi Belgium on Hanabu is an example. We have the equations. I mean, it's a dumb planet. But because the physicists were too stupid to teach your kids why object falls to the ground, they cannot teach why any electric field self-organizes, why anything centripetal exists, or why anything negentropic exists, and therefore they cannot teach why mind exists.
Yeah.
We got a pretty dumb planet here. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you are also creating a Jedi school, right?
Yes, Jedi School.science, yes.
And what is the objective for the school? What age groups or how widespread? And
we're building that for Lucas, absolutely, yes, because he's
yeah,
even got the right name.
yeah, yeah. And
No, actually, the carbon nano and the energy projects are funding that, and it's cooking beautifully at the moment. Hold your breath, looking wonderful. So
yeah.
more to come on that for sure.
But will it be a location somewhere on the Earth, or will it be online classes? Or
Well, like fractalu.com, there will be online classes, but we're now going to have some locations. Yes. Australia, South France, etc. But the focus won't be on people have to travel there. But the gatherings we do have will be in a high quality film studio, I can tell you that.
yes, yeah, would be nice for summer camps for all children from all over the world to come and.
It's cooking. That's exactly our intent. Absolutely, cooking beautifully. I'll send you pictures real soon. You won't believe it. It's incredible.
Oh wow, wow. In your view, in what time span do you think we will be able to provide different education for the next generations?
Yeah, well, I think, having university recognized curriculums could take a couple lifetimes, but having advanced professional television series will be seen by millions. I think we can do that within months, not years. We're cooking beautifully.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
How are we doing on Lucas's questions?
Yeah.
Well, I have one last question. What have you learned from your job, from your work?
Yeah, what I've learned is you do not want to have a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's really true. When you're young, if you have some jobs, I worked as a quality control in a steel mill, doing a ladle analysis, which introduces alchemy and crystal hardness geometries microscopically for rocker arm steel, Detroit O2D for Chrysler. And I had a little background. I learned a few things. But the purpose of learning all those things is then to go off and do what you want, which generally, when you succeed, means you don't work for anybody else. Mm-hmm. So I have now been doing inventions for 30 years, and I'm a little bit successful, if I may say humbly. TheImploder.com, Verify.net, FlameandMind.com, RealHeartCoherence.com. These are all my inventions, and I'm happy to say we're cooking. So I suggest invent something fun.
Yeah, and that should be the basis for education, right? To find your purpose, to find your thrill. Oh.
So, Lucas, have you ever tried measuring your brain waves for the seeing without your eyes?
Well, I've seen once without my eyes, and I've never tried to measure my brainwaves.
No, we're gonna start it again with Lucas, but he did immediately. When the first time his little brother saw, he said, "Oh, give me the mask and I will try." And he just immediately he said, "Oh, look, Mom, there's your car." So.
And did you? A lot of the kids report that sometimes it's like looking through a tunnel or a tube or a vortex.
It's like looking through a tunnel.
Yeah. And we think what makes that tunnel is the vortex of imploding charge, which is what the golden ratio in brainwaves does.
Yeah.
So vision is the sorting that happens at the implosion point in that tunnel.
Yeah. And what I try to understand more deeply is what the children need in order for them to have the vision opened. Because I see a lot of times like a lack of belief a lot of self-doubt is bringing them low. It's so my job is to facilitate them in being as open and joyful and happy as possible. And then I just tell them, just go find it, because it's already there. You just have to find it. It's yours already. We were born this way.
That's beautiful. And when Korotkov measured the golden ratio in brainwaves of kids seeing without their eyes in Russia, he said they were having those experiences. And the beginning of that is just relaxed self-confidence. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Good work, dear.
Yeah.
Well, Lucas, next step is you come to our Fractal University for the Skywalker kids here. We're cooking on that. We'll let you know.
Yes, please do. Please do, Dan. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, great.
And that's a great smile, Lucas. If you smiled like that, I would hire you for sure.
Yeah. Okay, then. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time.
Blessing.
Yeah.
I'll send you the film. Thank you. Blessings.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.